Jack the Drought debuted on the 19th of June 2019, a solo-released Sugo-Fest exclusive character that came out on the global version of the game an entire month prior to the Japanese version. This character was sought after due to his max pirate EXP boosting captain effect, which was the greatest way to increase your pirate level up until this point. Unfortunately, this character's special wasn't entirely useful, as it did little to increase this character's viability in difficult content. Introducing LF Fruit Ancient Model User, Jack. In this series, we'll be traveling back in time to experience some of the older Sugo-Fest exclusive characters in their prime, aiming to show just what it was like to use these characters on their debut. I hope you enjoy the video, and without further ado, let's enter the Legends of OPTC. Thank you very much for checking out yet another episode of The Legends of OPTC, and today we're checking out just a solo release legend, which is going to be Legend Jack. And Legend Jack was kind of interesting. He kind of released at a really odd time, and if I remember correctly, I think it might have been a global first. I could be wrong on that one, but what I do remember is that a lot of people in this time period were really looking forward to Legend Carrot, and that was the next one on the docket. And also, you know, with V2 Katakuri that had released a relatively close time period, a lot of people were, you know, pulling on Katakuri. They'd done their pulls there. They were waiting for Carrot because Carrot was such a monumental release for the game, and a lot of people wanted that character to farm up content with. But then this guy dropped, and this guy really threw a wrench in people's plans because of what his kit was able to provide to most people's accounts that seemed very, very enticing at the time. So let's go ahead and talk about Legend Jack. One thing that's kind of interesting is that his pre-evolved form, the 5-star form, is a striker powerhouse. However, the evolved form of Jack in his mammoth form is actually a striker fighter, so he loses the powerhouse class for fighter, which personally is kind of a terrible idea. I kind of preferred the fact that he had one as powerhouse, one as striker. I kind of preferred that class combination better. Very, very odd decision. Either way, he is a strength unit as well, and the captain ability of this character, this was the big enticing factor of a rainbow 3x attack boost and a 1.25 health boost. That wasn't the enticing part, but providing 2x pirate EXP at the end of the quest was massive. Prior to this, the best EXP boosting captain was Rare Recruit Neptune. Now, Rare Recruit Neptune was a 2.25x attack captain, so very, very low, but provide you with 1.5x EXP. Obviously very, very good. And this guy came in with a much more substantial attack boost. Now, I say it much more substantial, but a 3x attack boost in the grand scheme of things, when you compare it to every other character that had come out prior to, you know, you got Legend Lucy, we keep going back to, but a 3.7x attack. You have this V2 Katakuri, which is, you know, the 3.3, but with color affinity can get over a 4x multiplier. You have these characters that are hovering around the 3.5 to a 4x multiplier. And then you got this that comes out with a 3x boost, which is much, much lower. But the 2x EXP was what a lot of people wanted to get their hands on. And if you did have it, it made grinding those levels much easier to do. Remember that back when this guy first came out, we didn't have the update where if you leveled up, you got a stamina meat. So if you leveled up very, very quickly and stock up all of these stamina meats, you couldn't just do that. You would actually get lots of overflow stamina, and you wouldn't be able to really stock it up. And I think a lot of people back in the day missed out on getting a lot of additional EXP just due to that. But that was the big thing about Jack. He was the EXP boosting captain, and we're hopefully going to be showing off today in a way that you could use him to grind EXP pretty effectively. Now, the special ability unfortunately didn't help him out that much. I'm really not a fan of this special, but you can use it to your advantage. So it provides a 20% health cut that goes through all defensive effects, which is kind of cool, and then it increases the duration of % damage reduction, so rainbow shield buffs, threshold reduction buffs, end of turn damage, and end of turn healing buffs all by 1 turn. So a very odd special. We hadn't seen a special in the game that had done exactly what this does. So you could have it in a way where you could run a really defensive team where you're trying to heal and get lots of defensive buffs for lots of turns, but the best way to use it is to speed farm content with end of turn damage effects, and then being able to extend the duration of the end of turn damage, which will once again hopefully showcase in this video today. 14 turn cooldown was pretty high. Limit break expansion obviously does get much more substantial buffs, His support effect isn't amazing, but it's a pretty good stat support for Legend Kaido, which eventually would release. And in PvP, as we all know, in Rumble, he's a really solid unit to use on, like, basically any team. If you need additional, like, bulkiness on your squad, Jack's a pretty solid option for that. Of course, with his Super Evolution, he does receive much more significant buffs, but overall, a pretty interesting Legend release for sure, and we're going to be showcasing him in today's video. But it is unfortunate that he didn't come out with a bunch of rare recruits or anything. It was just a solo release, so there isn't really a lot to talk about in regards to what this character really brought to the community, aside from the fact that he was substantial in the fact that he gave you additional EXP, which, once again, we're going to show that off right now. In game now with Legend Jack, Animal Kingdom Pirates lead performer, captain of the Mammoth. He is able to change into a gigantic mammoth that towers above the average man. A single strike from his trunk in his mammoth form is destructive enough to level a building in the Mokomo Dukedom, which is just crazy to think about. This guy's a pretty big monster. He's a pretty big dude, and we're gonna be covering him in today's video. Now look, this character on release, he wasn't really the type of unit that you would typically use in order to clear content. At least more modernly released content, you wouldn't go to Jack. He isn't your go-to character. People would go out of their way to try and use him for the content due to the beneficial effects that his captain ability would provide that we had just talked about, with the EXP boosting captain doubles pirate EXP earned, and of course if you're running double Jack, you're getting ×4 EXP, and on top of that, if you use the host ship, you would get an additional 1.75 times EXP, if I remember correctly. It's pretty wild the amount of EXP you could get. And now when you think about it, in today's day and age, we have access to Superclass Marco, who not only has like a 5 times captain, but also provides 2.25 times EXP. It's wild to think where we've come from. And this guy only providing a 3 times attack boost and 1.25 times HP. Not a great captain, and the special ability doesn't really help out that much either, providing just a health cut that goes through defensive effects, and being able to extend the duration of really odd buffs by 1 turn. However, we're going to be using his special to great effect in this video today, as you guys are going to find out. This is my own personal Jack that I have actually devolved as well, so he is level 130, so he does have far more significant stats than what you would see typically from Legend Jack on release, but I don't even have any more duplicates of Jack lying around. This is what I've got, so we're going to be showcasing this one in today's video. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. Okay, so I'm gonna actually just jump into this content right now. I actually did start recording initially, and I actually didn't stall enough. I didn't get any specials ready. I don't know what I was doing. I thought I was in, 2023 trying to EXP farm. So we're gonna run it back this time, and we're actually going to do the right amount of stall, because I wanted to show off Jack's special in what he's capable of doing, and I completely didn't do that. So we're gonna scrap that first run through that we did. We're gonna try again. So as I said, as I was saying in the clip that you guys aren't gonna see, Jack was a very fun legend to use initially because we hadn't had an EXP boosting legend prior to this. I mean, we might have had like a really minor EXP boosting one. We had like obviously rare recruit Neptune. You gotta give respect to old mate Neptune. But with the release of Jack, like, there wasn't any reason to go back to Neptune anymore. Neptune died so that Jack could live, and that's just essentially what it was. And we're at a point right now in One Piece Treasure Cruise where Jack died so Marco could live. It makes me wonder, are we ever going to get a character that is going to supersede what the current superclass Marco is capable of doing? It would be interesting if they decided to go down that route and they end up giving us another EXP boosting captain that is far better. Potentially with, right now, Legend Jack, he boosts EXP by 2. The superclass Marco is a 2.25 increase. It would make sense if the next character to come out that's an EXP boosting legend to be 2.5 times EXP. But the thing is, today's day and age, we don't really need to farm EXP anymore. Like, yeah, it is definitely nice for beginner players to level up their accounts very quickly so they can get a lot of those stamina meats to farm their content that they need to farm. However, we don't really need that much EXP anymore. Like, it's not really much of a grind to go for EXP, and especially for players that are well established, an EXP boosting captain isn't going to be much of an incentive to try and pull for. So they definitely need to go ahead and, if they are going to do that in the future, they probably need to add something a little bit special on top of it. Anyways, we're finally ready now. We have our specials ready to go so we can actually showcase what Legend Jack is capable of doing. So here we have Donsai and Ideo. We have some orb shuffling going on. And what does Ideo do? He's going to punch us in the face, which obviously hurts. And this is where we can get some cool stuff going on. So we're going to go ahead and use the Kid special, which of course is going to give us the -2 cooldown, a bit of damage, and the end of turn damage, which is the key component of Kid. So by doing that, it means that at the end of this turn, we're going to be doing pretty good damage. And now we can go ahead and use the Jack special, which is going to do a 20% health cut and extend the duration of damage dealt at the end of the turn by 1. So that's a really cool effect that this Jack has, but outside of like this interaction here with characters that do end of turn damaging effects, there wasn't really too many cases where Jack's special was entirely useful. So, you know, we do have this character here that is a strength character with Toadskii. We're going to do some normal attacks against him because the end of turn damage from Kid obviously isn't going to be like amazing. So we're just going to do some normal attacks just to ensure that that damage will kill. Ideo definitely will go down. And because the end of turn damage is a 3 turn, we're going to carry it into this stage versus Don Jinjiao. And once again, we have another Jack special that we can use to extend the duration of the end of turn damage. So that's going to be great. And not only by doing that, we also get an additional 20% health cut done to the enemy to reduce their HP, making them easier to kill. So it's just great synergy here. It makes a lot of sense. So that's fantastic. And the enemy does have a Rainbow Shield, but we're going to take this first turn just to let the Rainbow Shield expire a little bit more, let the enemy get chopped down a little bit of additional HP, and now that that has occurred, let's go ahead and use the Virgo special. And Virgo is here mainly to provide the ability to remove the Rainbow Shield. However, he also provides our striker characters with a 1.75 times attack boost, and Kid with a matching slot that was given to us on stage 3. We can abuse that to ensure that we can get a knockout against Don Jinjiao. And even if we don't get a knockout with our normal attacks, we're going to be able to use the end of turn damage to our advantage. Well, we actually killed even without the end of turn damage. That's fantastic. That's awesome. So now we're going to move on to the boss stage versus Lucy. Now, Lucy, he's not going to be very difficult for us with our current team scenario. We have Treasure Map Ace, which is going to give our strength characters a 1.75 times attack boost, and he does enable us to shuffle our block slots away, so we don't even have to worry about it at all. Treasure Map Ace on initial release was one of the best free-to-play characters in the game. Very good captain, actually. You could potentially run like a hybrid captain with Jack as one captain, Treasure Map Ace as the other captain, if you were, you know, be inclined in doing that. Then we can go ahead and use the Akainu special, which is Clash Akainu, who will give us a 1.75 color affinity boost to our strength characters. And with this alone, this should be a pretty comfortable victory for us. Let's go ahead and do our normal attacks and secure this victory. Let's get it. Boom. There we go, 6.2 million damage, and you know, obviously I wanted to hit with all characters at the end, so I did hit it great on that first Jack, but you know, that was actually pretty good damage, and we got through it really comfortably. But the most important thing here is to see the additional EXP that we got for completing the Colosseum. So we see base is 11,200 and it goes up to 78. So going from 11,200 all the way up to nearly 80,000 EXP. So you can see by using Jack, you can level up so much quicker. And of course, with the additions of the beginner Chopperman missions, and there's those EXP islands that can give you pretty sizable amounts of EXP. If you are clearing them with characters like Neptune, Legend Jack, or Legend Marco, the amount of EXP that you get just skyrockets and you can level up very quickly. So really satisfying to use Jack, and of course we weren't even using 2x stamina. Now I believe when Jack first came out, double stamina might not have been a thing. I can't remember exactly when that first came out, but of course with the addition of double and triple stamina, the amount of EXP that you get for the amount of time that you invest just skyrockets even further. So, really fun to use Jack after all this time. That is going to wrap it up from me for this episode of the Legends of OPTC. Looking forward to the next episode. We're going to be covering Legend Carrot, which I know is a bunch of people's favorite legends, or a lot of people do enjoy using Legend Carrot. So, we're going to be covering her in the next episode, which is going to be kind of crazy because her release was very dramatic, to say the least. So we'll discuss more about that in next week's episode. Really hope you guys did enjoy this one, and if you guys did, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content that I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Other than that, I will see you guys within the next video.